You wake up, you breathe, you move, you check your phone. Maybe you even get a few things done. But pause for a moment, be honest with yourself. Are you truly alive or just existing? Are you living with intention or just repeating yesterday? On autopilot, like a ghost stuck in a loop? If you open your eyes every morning with no fire, no curiosity, no sense of why, then you're not living. You're decaying in disguise, slowly, quietly, tragically, and the worst part, you've normalized it. You've become so good at numbing yourself that it feels ordinary. You've mastered the art of saying I'm fine while quietly falling apart. You smile when people ask, but inside, you're fading, drifting further from your real self every day. This isn't just another YouTube video. This is an emergency signal. A wake-up call with no snooze button. Because if you keep going like this, surviving without direction, reacting to every demand but choosing nothing of your own, then sooner or later, you won't just lose your way, you'll lose yourself completely. I'm not here to offer sugar-coated quotes or inspirational fluff. I'm here to tear off the blindfold you've been wearing for too long. Stoicism isn't some cute philosophy printed on mugs or Instagram posts. It's a brutally honest mirror, a set of tools to rebuild your life when you don't even remember who you are. You won't find comfort here, but you will find clarity, and that might be exactly what you need. What I'm about to share with you isn't just wisdom, it's a lifeline. These stoic truths won't coddle you, they'll confront you, will challenge you to stop sleepwalking through life. To wake up, take the wheel. And stop watching from the sidelines like a spectator to your own story. Because here's the truth. Living with awareness is a decision. And if you don't make it, life will make it for you. Usually when it's already too late. But before we dive into these life-altering truths, I want to tell you a story. A story that might feel uncomfortably familiar. A story about someone who could be you, or and when you already are. Her name was Lily, 36 years old. She had been a sales assistant in a clothing store for over 11 years. For over a decade, she folded jeans, scanned barcodes, smiled at strangers, and listened to complaints that made no sense without even flinching. She clocked in at 9 a.m., clocked out at 8 p.m., 30 minutes for lunch. 3 days off. A month. That was her life. Every morning, she turned the store lights on before anyone arrived. Every night. She turned them off after picking up the last crumpled receipt from the floor. And no, Lily didn't hate her job. She didn't feel much of anything. It had been years since she'd even asked herself if she was happy. She didn't really live. She just went through the motions. Her apartment was small. The walls were gray. A half-dead plant sat in the hallway, silently mirroring her own fading spirit. No partner, no children, almost no friends. But the saddest part wasn't her loneliness. It was the fact that no one even noticed. Not even Lily herself. She had become so good at being fine that she forgot what feeling alive even meant. People said, "You're always so calm," and she'd smile, replying, "All good," like a reflex. But inside, only ashes remained. No fire, no warmth. Just habit. And then on a Monday, just like any other, everything shifted. She was stacking t-shirts on a shelf when an older woman approached her. Calm eyes, gentle tone, but a voice that cut through the noise. The woman said she was looking for a cardigan to gift her granddaughter. Lily helped her, asked all the usual polite questions. But the woman paused, looked at her closely and said, "You don't look happy here, dear. I'm sorry to say it like this, but there's a sadness that shows." Lily froze, smiled awkwardly. She wasn't used to being seen, and then the woman added something that hit her like a whisper from the universe. "Be careful. Life flies by. One day you wake up, and there's no time left to be yourself." It wasn't just the words, it was how she said them, like someone speaking from a deep wound. It's not giving advice, but sharing a warning. Lily stood there, paralyzed. The t-shirt slipped from her hands. For 5 long seconds, she didn't hear the background music. She didn't hear the beeping scanner. Just that sentence echoing inside her. One day you wake up, and there's no time left to be yourself. night, Lily didn't sleep. For the first time in years, she stood in front of the mirror, no makeup, no mask, just herself. And she didn't recognize the woman staring back. She whispered a question she hadn't dared to ask in years. When did I disappear? She didn't recognize herself. And that was the beginning. Because once you see it once, you finally stop lying to yourself. It's impossible to unsee. That night, Lily didn't just lose sleep. She began to ask questions. Small ones, honest ones. When was the last time she read something that wasn't a WhatsApp message or a receipt? When was the last time she said no and truly meant it, not out of guilt, not out of fear, but out of self-respect? When was the last time she said yes to something she actually wanted, not something she felt obligated to accept? These questions started quietly, like whispers echoing inside a room she hadn't stepped into in years. Something deep within her, perhaps. Her soul, long dormant, began to stir. Not loudly, but softly, cautiously, as if opening one eye after a long, quote, gray hibernation. No, it wasn't some dramatic Hollywood transformation. She didn't quit her job. She didn't pack a suitcase and fly off to Bali. But something inside her began to shift, subtly, powerfully. She began to observe, to really see the things she had once ignored. She started questioning routines she once followed blindly. She sat in silence, not because she had to, but because she wanted to. And in those pockets of quiet, something started to unfold. Weeks passed, then something completely unexpected happened. That same woman, the one whose words had pierced her numbness, returned to the store. This time, she wasn't looking for a cardigan or asking polite questions. She walked over with that same calm gaze. Not rushed, not hesitant, but just present. And with a voice low and warm like sharing a secret, she said, "What I told you last time wasn't just something I thought of. It's something that saved me. It's in this book." In her hand, she held a worn-out paperback corners. Bent, cover faded. She placed it gently into Lily's hands. On the cover were 5 simple words: Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. That night, Lily sat on her bed, holding the book like it held a key to something buried. She opened it at random, out, and right there. On the very first page, her fingers landed on. She read a sentence that pierced straight through her. "Don't live as if you had 1,000 years ahead of you. The urgency is within you." It was as if those words had been waiting just for her. As if that Roman emperor, nearly 2,000 years ago, had somehow written this sentence across time. It's just for Lily. No one in her life had ever dared to say it that clearly. No one had told her that life doesn't wait. And from that moment on, something changed. Lily didn't become a viral influencer. She didn't start a business or move to another country. But she started doing something much harder. She started to live. She gave herself permission to say, "Today, I don't want to go out," and meant it. She also gave herself permission to say, "Today, I do want to walk to the beach." To sit in the sun. To write what she felt, not for likes, not for attention, but for clarity. She let herself cry. She let herself laugh without explanation. She made space to hear her own voice, something she had silenced for years. She looked people in the eye. She stopped nodding out of habit and started answering from truth. She embraced stillness. She allowed herself to exist without performance, and no one clapped. No one congratulated her. Most didn't even notice. She noticed because for the first time in years, the world outside didn't matter more than the world within. Lily was no longer fading. She was waking up, and now here you are, watching this video, sitting in front of a screen. And maybe, just maybe, you've also been going through the motions. Maybe you too have become an expert at ignoring yourself. But if you've made it this far, if you're still here, then listen closely. There's a part of you that's still alive, still breathing, and that part matters. That part is enough. So, now let's begin. Because life isn't going to wait for you. It never has, and it never will. If something inside you has begun to shift, if the story felt like a mirror, you're not alone. You're in the right place. This channel isn't just about inspiration. It's about transformation. Subscribe and become part of this journey. Leave a comment with your own personal statement. What will you do differently today to stop merely existing and start living? If nothing else, just write one sentence. I'm a Stoic. Today I stop existing and come back to life. That will be your first step, and perhaps the most honest one you've taken in years. Remember Lily's turning point. The moment she stopped pretending, the moment the mirror spoke back. That's exactly where most people look away. They rush into the next task, the next notification, the next excuse. Anything to avoid the quiet that might expose the cracks. Some folks swear they're living because their calendars explode with color-coded meetings and back-to-back errands. In truth, they're sprinting from their own thoughts, their own questions, their own unmet needs. Productivity becomes the disguise for panic. I'm busy. I don't have time. I'll handle it later. But later never shows up. Picture a treadmill. You're pumping your legs, sweat dripping, headphones blasting. From the outside, it looks like progress. Yet when you step off, you're exactly where you started. Exhausted, but unchanged. Muscles moved. Your life didn't. You've worked hard on 1,000 microtasks, but none of them brushed your soul. How long will you keep moving without arriving anywhere? I heard a story that nails this beautifully. A master carpenter spent his career building gorgeous houses, perfect roofs, sunlit living rooms, gardens trimmed like art. Each Friday, he handed the keys to a delighted family, yet his own house, rotting beams, leaky ceilings, paint flaking. Like dried leaves, I'll fix it one day, he kept telling himself, until a violent storm flattened the place. Only then did he grasp the truth. You can't craft homes for others while living among ruins yourself. That, my friend, is you when you answer every external demand while letting your inner life crumble. Marcus Aurelius foresaw this trap nearly 2 millennia ago. Your mind will take the shape of what you frequently think, for the soul is dyed by thoughts. If those thoughts revolve around avoiding pain, impressing strangers, or drowning silence with noise, then your essence, your very stain, becomes avoidance, vanity, and static. You are what you do with what you feel. If you refuse to feel, you're not living. You're merely functioning. Here's the revelation. Ending the flight from yourself doesn't require quitting your job or meditating on a Himalayan cliff. In today's world, the braver act is far simpler, yet far harder. Stop. Really stop. Look inward without flinching. Because while you remain in constant motion, everything you touch is just doing. Living is something entirely different. So, what does stop look like in practice? 1 presence ritual per day. Cook dinner with no headphones. Watch clouds drift across the afternoon sky with no agenda. Walk a familiar street without consulting maps or messages. A single moment that serves no purpose, except to let life breathe through you too. 2. 5 minutes of absolute nothing, no phone, no music, no errands disguised as mindfulness. Sit, breathe, let the mind chatter, but don't feed it. 5 minutes may feel like standing on a cliff edge. Edit grants a view you've never seen. 3. The daily question, write it. Speak it, stare it down. Am I here because I chose to be, or because I never learned to say no? Answer honestly. Tomorrow, ask again. The pattern that emerges will illuminate more than any self-help playlist. Stopping the Great Escape is not poetic fluff, it's an act of courage. Stepping off the treadmill, forfeiting the illusion of progress, reclaiming the reality of presence. No one else will yank the plug. If you refuse, you'll stay locked in that robotic loop until your power burns out. Yet on the far side of the noise, waits something startlingly real, something that has been whispering your name all along. A cross that threshold, and you'll realize everything you've chased was an echo compared to the solid ground beneath your own attention. 2. Your enemy is in your mind. You think the culprit is your boss, your parents, the partner who doesn't get you, or the job that never changes. Brace yourself. The truest adversary is much, much closer. So if the enemy isn't out there, where is it? You already know the answer. It's closer than your job. It's closer than your relationships. Closer than your past. It's right there between your ears, and it's been running your life without asking for permission. It's that internal voice. It's the one that questions everything, that wraps self-doubt in layers of caution, whispers fear into your boldest moments, then masks it as wisdom. It's that subtle, persistent chatter that locks you inside a mental cage while pretending to protect you. And if you don't take control of it, if you don't learn how to train that voice, then that mind of yours, it doesn't serve you. It owns you. It becomes your jailer. Let's make this real. Picture your head as a room run by a hyperactive monkey. Now imagine you've handed that monkey your phone, your credit card, and your entire total list for the week. But wait, it's not just any monkey. This one's anxious, impulsive, sleepless, running on 5 shots of espresso and 0 emotional awareness. Sound familiar? While you're trying to organize your day, this monkey opens 10 mental tabs simultaneously. One plays a rerun of that awkward conversation from 3 years ago. Another one rewrites an upcoming talk that hasn't even happened yet, but you're sure will go horribly. A third reminds you that your past mistakes mean you're probably not capable of doing anything new. And just to top it off, it signs you up for a $1,000 online course you'll never finish. All of this chaos while you're just trying to live your life. That's what it's like to move through the world without mastering your mind. You're not awake. You're not focused. You're dodging reality while that monkey bounces all over your nervous system, leaving you emotionally dizzy and mentally drained. And in that inner jungle, ask yourself honestly, who's in charge? Because if you don't decide, it will. It always has. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus spelled this out clearly over 2,000 years ago. No man is free who is not master of himself. And he didn't say that as a king or a CEO. He said that as a slave with no possessions, no status, and no freedom in the external world. And yet, he had something far more powerful, the ability to govern his own mind. Let that sink in. A man with nothing had more mental sovereignty than many of us today, with all our apps, books, courses, and growth tools. And while you who has more resources than any Stoic in history are letting a tiny voice inside your head sabotage your entire day. Let me show you how that sabotage happens in real time. You're about to do something meaningful. Start a new project. Have an important conversation. Try something bold. That first spark hits. Excitement. Readiness. And then bam, your mind throws a wet blanket over the fire. What if it goes wrong? What if they laugh? You're not ready yet? And worse, you believe it? Do you know what performance coach Jay Alderton would say in that exact moment? He'd say, your brain will always choose safety over progression, lest you train it every day. And he's right. Your brain doesn't care about your dreams. It doesn't want to see you live. It just wants to keep you alive. It would rather have you breathing without a soul, repeating yesterday on loop, then risk failure even if that failure helps you grow. But here's the good news. You can change this. It's not about silencing your thoughts. It's about learning to talk back. So next time that self-sabotaging voice shows up to stop you, don't ignore it. Observe it. Acknowledge it. And then say firmly and kindly, thanks for the warning, but I'm in charge here. And here's a surprisingly powerful trick. Give that voice a name. Yep, you heard that right. Turn it into a character. Call it the drama queen, or Captain Fear, or Anxious Alex, or even just the monkey. Whatever feels right to you, naming it makes it smaller, manageable. It separates you from it. Suddenly you're no longer saying this is just who I am. Instead, you're saying my inner monkey is acting up again. Let's get him back in his cage. It sounds silly until it works. And when it does, it's the moment you stop being a prisoner of your own mind. That's the moment you become the master. You've named the monkey now. It's time to put it on a leash. Once you call that inner saboteur out by name, you can tame it. You can stare it down and say, not today. I choose to live, not just react. You can step off the worn out. Track and carve a fresh path instead of circling the same mental cage. So tell me right now, in the comments, what's your saboteur's name? Captain Fear Drama Diva? Doubtbot 3000? Write it down like you're dragging a shadow into the sunlight, because the moment you name it, you shrink it. The moment you control it, it can't blindside you anymore. Remember, this channel is packed with people doing exactly what you're doing. Waking up, refusing autopilot, retraining their minds every single day. Take that first step, and you won't be walking alone. We'll be here to remind you who's driving whenever you forget. 3. Does that really affect you? Picture this. Someone strides up and casually tosses you a rose. Only this rose bristles with thorns barbs so sharp they sting at the lightest touch. Instinctively, you snatch it out of the air and clamp your fist around it. Of course, you bleed. The wound isn't the rose's fault. It's how you caught it barehanded, unguarded. As though you owed the world your pain. That's what life looks like when you let every word, gesture, or silence cut straight into your skin. People lob their opinions your way, and you press them to your chest until they pierce. I know the feeling. I still wince remembering a family lunch. I walked in, plate in hand, and a relative murmured, "You're going dressed like that?" No malice, just that offhand tone sharper than a formal insult. I laughed it off, but through the entire meal I kept glancing down at my clothes, shrinking in my seat, wondering if I should have changed. The damage wasn't there, remark. Was the story I began whispering to myself. I don't fit in, look ridiculous. I've embarrassed myself. Epictetus had already warned us, we are not affected by what happens to us, but by what we tell ourselves about what happens to us. When you live in constant reaction, you're not living, you're surviving on adrenaline, letting old hurts drive the car. That jittery voice worrying about every sideways glance, that isn't you. That's fear pretending to be logic. Ask yourself, how many times have you let a single moment snowball into a private melodrama? You see a neighbor on the street? Raise a friendly hand? Get only a half nod in return. Are they angry? Did I offend them? Within seconds, you've written a 3-act tragedy, starring you, guessed it too, as the villain. Hours later, you discover they were nursing a toothache and barely saw you. All that stress? Pure fiction. You paid for the ticket in anxiety. Psychologist and speaker Marina Diaz captures it perfectly. We bleed the most from wounds we inflict with our own thoughts. So how do we drop the thorny rose before it draws blood? Before you catch, the next time a comment flies your way, imagine holding out a pair of gardening gloves. Mentally inspect the words. Is this my burden or theirs? 2. Translate, don't transmit. Turn they hate my outfit into they have a different taste than I do. One is poison. The other is data point 3. Ask the Stoic question. Does this lie within my control? If the answer is no, release it like a stone you never needed to carry. Point 4. Rewrite the narrative. Instead of I'm ridiculous, try I'm experimenting with my style. One shrinks you. The other allows growth. Because every time you choose the calmer interpretation, you clip a thorn, You loosen the monkey's grip. You reclaim a shred of mental freedom. Do it often enough, and the rose no longer hurts, it simply exists. It's beautiful and complex, without bleeding you dry. So the challenge for today? Notice one thorny remark. Pause. Decide whether it truly deserves a place in your hand or whether it's safer left floating by. Then come back and tell us, did the monkey stay caged, or did it grab the rose? Share below. Your insight might be the glove someone else needs tomorrow. Top of form, you've loosened your grip on the rose. Now it's time to loosen your grip on the thoughts that keep pricking you, because our deepest suffering isn't what happens to us. It's the story we tell ourselves about what happens. And when you're half asleep in survival mode, you can't see that story, you mistake it for reality. That's the most common trap of all, confusing what you think with what is. While your eyes glaze over in autopilot, you keep handing your peace to anyone who walks by. So how do we break free? First, whenever something stings, pause. Don't lash out. Don't spiral inward. Simply ask, is this fact or just my interpretation? One question can split a storm cloud wide open. Second, zoom out. Will this matter a week from now? If the answer is no, why surrender an entire day? Why let a single thorn dictate the fate of your whole garden? Third, change your language. Swap. They offended me, for I let that affect me. A tiny shift, but it hands you back what you lost control. Living well isn't about controlling everything around you. It's about walking forward without every random word knocking you flat. It's spotting the thorns and choosing this time not to squeeze. Make that choice, and you'll breathe easier. Only then can you stop merely surviving and start living again. For no one's going to do it for you. Picture this. You're holding a perfect seed. The soil is fertile, the sun generous, the rain predictably kind. Everything's aligned, but you never water the seed. Just stare, arms folded, muttering about bad luck while it shrivels in your palm. That's how most of us live, or rather, survive. Waiting for the cosmic push, the flashing sign, the divine whisper that says now's the time. Spoiler, no such whisper is coming. If you wait, the only thing that grows is frustration. Epictetus, born a slave, said it best. Why wait for the world to align with you? Align yourself with the world. He didn't hold off on wisdom until chains were removed. He started exactly where he stood with the little he had. Sound familiar? How many months have you mulled? Starting that project, changing jobs, reading more, reaching out to a friend, caring for your health. Yet each sunrise delivers a brand new excuse. No time. Not in the mood. I'll do it when things are clearer. Newsflash, things will never be perfectly clear. Entrepreneur Alex Hormozy would cut through your hesitation like this. People wait for motivation to start, but motivation comes after you start. You're stuck expecting a lightning bolt of inspiration to strike first, but lightning isn't scheduled to hit. My friend, that bolt never comes. Action is the storm. Movement is the spark. If you want motivation, earn it. Water the seed, even when clouds look doubtful. Plant, nurture, repeat. Start badly if you must just start. Because once you move, momentum follows. The seed splits, roots dig, and growth begins. You're still holding that seed, remember? It won't sprout by staring at it. The only way forward is motion. Even if that motion feels embarrassingly small, stop over planning and start with something almost laughable. Got 5 free minutes? Read 1 page? No idea how to get in shape? Drop and do 1 push-up right here, right now. Keep postponing that important message. Type 1 honest line and hit send. You don't have to finish the marathon today. You just have to crack the shell of inertia. And from this moment on, every time you hear yourself whisper, "Later, Swap it for never. Yes, it's brutal. If it stings, that's the mirror doing its job. Are you genuinely rescheduling? Or are you quietly surrendering without admitting it? Want an extra push? Say it out loud. Tell a friend, a sibling, the comment section. Today I'm starting. Underscore. Pride can pull you across the starting line when motivation's still embedded. That's perfectly fine. Motion first. Feelings follow. Life has no pause button. Each day you delay is a day you merely exist instead of live. While you hunt for the perfect moment, others are out there forging it messy, doubtful, tripping over their own shoelaces, but moving. So will you keep waiting? Drop your answer below. If you're ready, type your commitment in big, bold words. Today I begin without motivation. 5. You already have more than you need to. See you. Racing at 100 miles an hour. Juggling 3 calendars and 2 planners, yet appointments still slip through the cracks. You're subscribed to half a dozen productivity apps, follow 40 self-help gurus, and wake up to a smartwatch that scolds you for last night's bad sleep as if you hadn't noticed. You've named the monkey now, it's time to put it on a leash. Once you call that inner saboteur out by name, you can tame it. You can stare it down and say, not today, I just react. You can step off the worn out. Track and carve a fresh path instead of circling the same mental cage. So tell me right now, Captain Sweat's your saboteur's name. Captain Fear, Drama Diva, Doubtbot 3000. Write it down like you're dragging a shadow into the sunlight. Because the moment you name it, you shrink it. The moment you control it, it can't blindside you anymore. Remember, this channel is packed with people doing exactly what you're doing. Waking up, refusing autopilot, retraining their minds every single day.
Take that first step and you
won't be walking alone. We'll be here to remind you who's driving whenever you forget. 3. Does that really affect you? Picture this. Someone strides up and casually tosses you a rose. Only this rose bristles with thorns barbs so sharp they sting at the lightest touch. Instinctively, you snatch it out of the air and clamp your fist around it. Of course, you bleed. The wound isn't the rose's fault. It's how you caught it barehanded, unguarded, as though you owed the world your pain. That's what life looks like when you let every word, gesture, or silence cut straight into your skin. People lob their opinions your way, and you press them to your chest until they pierce. I know the feeling. I still wince remembering a family lunch. I walked in, plate in hand, and a relative murmured, "You're going dressed like that?" No malice, just that offhand tone sharper than a formal insult. I laughed it off, but through the entire meal, I kept glancing down at my clothes, shrinking in my seat, wondering if I should have changed. The damage wasn't their remark. It was the story I began whispering to myself. I don't fit in. I look ridiculous. I've embarrassed myself. Epictetus had already warned us. We are not affected by what happens to us, but by what we tell ourselves about what happens to us. When you live in constant reaction, you're not living, you're surviving on adrenaline, letting old hurts drive the car, that jittery voice worrying about every sideways glance. That isn't you. That's fear pretending to be logic. Ask yourself, how many times have you let a single moment snowball into a private melodrama? You see a neighbor on the street, raise a friendly hand, get only a half nod in return. Instantly your mind sprints. Are they angry? Did I offend them? Within seconds, you've written a 3-act tragedy starring, you guessed it too, as the villain. Hours later, you discover they were nursing a toothache and barely saw you. All that stress? Pure fiction. And you paid for the ticket in anxiety. Psychologist and speaker Marina Diaz captures it perfectly. We bleed the most from wounds we inflict with our own thoughts. So how do we drop the thorny rose before it draws blood? Before you catch, the next time a comment flies your way, imagine holding out a pair of gardening gloves. Mentally inspect the words, is this my burden or theirs? 2. Translate, don't transmit. Turn they hate my outfit into, they have a different taste than I do. One is poison. The other is data point 3. Ask the Stoic question. Does this lie within my control? If the answer is no, release it like a stone you never needed to carry. Point 4. Rewrite the narrative. Instead of I'm ridiculous, try I'm experimenting with my style. One shrinks you. The other allows growth, because every time you choose the calmer interpretation, you clip a thorn, you loosen the monkey's grip, you reclaim a shred of mental freedom. Do it often enough, and the rose no longer hurts. It simply exists, beautiful and complex, without bleeding you dry. So, the challenge for today? Notice one thorny remark, pause, and decide whether it truly deserves a place in your hand or whether it's safer left floating by. Then come back and tell us, did the monkey stay caged, or did it grab the rose? Share below. Your insight might be the glove someone else needs tomorrow. You've loosened your grip on the rose. Now it's time to loosen your grip on the thoughts that keep pricking you. Because our deepest suffering isn't what happens to us. The story we tell ourselves about what happens. And when you're half asleep in survival mode, you can't see that story, you mistake it for reality. That's the most common trap of all. Confusing what you think with what is. While your eyes glaze over in autopilot, you keep handing your peace to anyone who walks by. So how do we break free? First, whenever something stings, pause. Don't lash out. Don't spiral inward. Simply ask, is this fact or just my interpretation? One question can split a storm cloud wide open. Second, zoom out. Will this matter a week from now? If the answer is no, why surrender an entire day? Why let a single thorn dictate the fate of your whole garden? Third, change your language. Swap, they offended me, for I let that affect me. Tiny shift, but it hands you back what you lost control. Living well isn't about controlling everything around you. It's about walking forward without every random word knocking you flat. Spotting the thorns, and choosing this time not to squeeze. Make that choice and you'll breathe easier. Only then can you stop merely surviving and start living again. For no one's going to do it for you. Picture this. You're holding a perfect seed. The soil is fertile, the sun generous, the rain predictably kind. Everything's aligned, but you never watered the seed. You just stare, arms folded, muttering about bad luck while it shrivels in your palm. That's how most of us live, or rather, survive. Waiting for the cosmic push, the flashing sign, the divine whisper that says, now's the time? Spoiler, no such whisper is coming. If you wait, the only thing that grows is frustration. Epictetus, born a slave, said it best. Why wait for the world to align with you? Align yourself with the world. He didn't hold off on wisdom until chains were removed. He started exactly where he stood, with the little he had. Sound familiar? How many months have you mulled starting that project? Changing jobs, reading more, reaching out to a friend, caring for your health? Yet each sunrise delivers a brand new excuse. No time, not in the mood. I'll do it when things are clearer. Newsflash, things will never be perfectly clear. Entrepreneur Alex Hormozi would cut through your hesitation like this. People wait for motivation to start. But motivation comes after you start. You're stuck expecting a lightning bolt of inspiration to strike first, but lightning isn't scheduled to hit, my friend. That bolt never comes. Action is the storm. Movement is the spark. If you want motivation, earn it. Water the seed, even when clouds look doubtful. Plant, nurture, repeat. Start badly if you must just start. Because once you move, momentum follows. And once momentum follows, the seed splits, roots dig, and real growth begins. You're still holding that seed, remember? It won't sprout by staring at it. The only way forward is motion, even if that motion feels embarrassingly small. Stop over-planning and start with something almost laughable. Got 5 free minutes? Read 1 page? No idea how to get in shape? Drop and do 1 push-up right here, right now. Keep postponing that important message. Type 1 honest line and hit send. You don't have to finish the marathon today. You just have to crack the shell of inertia. And from this moment on, every time you hear yourself whisper later, swap it for never. Yes, it's brutal. If it stings, that's the mirror doing its job. Are you genuinely rescheduling? Or are you quietly surrendering without admitting it? Want an extra push? Say it out loud. Tell a friend, a sibling, the comments section. Today I'm starting _. Pride can pull you across the starting line when motivation's still embedded. That's perfectly fine. Motion first. Feelings follow. Life has no pause button. Each day you delay is a day you merely exist instead of live. While you hunt for the perfect moment, others are out there forging it messy, doubtful, tripping over their own shoelaces. But moving so, will you keep waiting? Drop your answer below. If you're ready, type your commitment in big, bold words. Today, I begin without motivation. 5. You already have more than you need. See you, racing at 100 miles an hour. Juggling 3 calendars and 2 planners yet appointments still slip through the cracks. You're subscribed to half a dozen productivity apps, follow 40 self-help gurus, and wake up to a smartwatch that scolds you for last night's bad sleep, as if you hadn't noticed. Something in your chest whispers no. You need rest. But your thumbs betray you. Sure, no problem. The unease that follows isn't about the favorites, the private yes you gave against yourself. That missing no was a silent vote for burnout, ask yourself. Does saying yes to everything help you live fully, or just keep you in autopilot, checking other people's boxes? Life like that isn't life. It's a slow erasure, a mini blueprint for no one. Name the pattern. On a scrap of paper, list 3 people you often yes out of pure obligation. Next to each, jot 1 recent request you could have declined, but didn't. Seeing ink on paper snaps you awake. 2. Practice the lines. Simple, honest scripts. I can't. Today I've already committed to something. That's not a good time. Say them to the mirror. Say them in the car. Saying no is a muscle. Repetition builds strength. 3. Block my time. Reserve 1 hour in your calendar. Label it exactly. My time, do not move. When someone asks for that slot, your answer is automatic. I'm booked, because you count as a booking. Remember, no isn't selfish. It's clarity. And here's the magic once you defend your hours. Every future yes overflows with meaning, because it's chosen, not coerced. Drop a comment. When did a fake yes cost you peace? How do you set boundaries? Your strategy might be the lifeline someone else here desperately needs. 8. Stop trying to impress. Pause and tally how many choices you make through someone else's eyes. Outfit, Instagram caption, dinner topic edited for applause. But living to impress is just another lullaby that keeps you half asleep. You're moving, yes, but with no compass of your own. It's like existing inside a store display. You stand behind glass, dressed in your sharpest clothes, posture perfect, smile rehearsed. Strangers stroll past some glance, most don't, and you stay frozen. Because the mannequin version of you mustn't blink.
Though you ache to step off the pedestal, peel off the costume, inhale real air. Life never unfolds through.
Another person's gaze, it blooms from the inside out. I say this plainly because I wore that glass box for years. I believed productivity meant more certificates, more extracurriculars, more everything. I juggled teaching gigs, overstudied for second degrees, even enrolled in acting workshops, anything that might draw a nod of approval. Yet every praise felt thin. Every accolade left the mannequin intact. You can step down from the display case, because the real medal doesn't need a spotlight. In the last chapter, you remembered how it feels to live for yourself, not for likes. Now let's go deeper. Let's talk about that mask you didn't even know you were wearing. For years, people told me, I don't know how you do it all. Or, you're a machine. And I'd smile, nod, even feel a strange pride, like their admiration confirmed my worth. But the truth, I wasn't thriving. I wasn't even living. I was exhausted, disconnected, just performing to sustain the image of someone who could do it all. Someone unbreakable. Till one quiet moment, I asked myself, what if I stopped trying to impress and just started living instead? That's when the words of Marcus Aurelius hit me differently. He didn't say, convince the world you're a good person. He said, stop debating what a good man should be. Be one, not for applause, not for followers, but with integrity, with purpose, with principles that don't change when one's watching. And when you really tune into this idea, you start to notice the patterns in your day-to-day life. You post a picture, no one comments. You tell yourself it's fine, but keep checking every hour anyway. You share something meaningful and, instead of feeling proud, you obsess over the view count. So, are you really sharing? Or are you just begging for validation? A research study from the University of Michigan split participants into two groups. One group stayed on social media as usual, the other took just 1 week off. The result? The group that disconnected not only reported less stress, they also felt more connected to themselves. Why? Because when you stop measuring your worth through reaction counts, you finally start listening inward. And there's the first true sign of awakening. A 2-part challenge to break the cycle. Challenge 1. Keep a victory to yourself. This week, do something that makes you proud. Don't post it. Don't tell anyone. Don't share it in a story or a caption. Finish the book that's been gathering dust. Wash the dishes even if no one asked. Take a long walk, not for steps or selfies, but for silence. Let it be yours. Like an invisible medal only you know you earned, because not everything valuable needs an audience. Sometimes, the most meaningful victory is the one you celebrate alone. Challenge 2. Ask the honest question. Right before you act, pause and ask, would I still do this if no one ever found out? Are you going to the gym to take care of your health or to look good on your story? Are you saying yes to that project because it excites you, or because it'll sound impressive in conversation? Be radically honest. If the answer is yes because you want it, then go for it. But if not, maybe you're still living for the glass case, not for your soul. Will you try it? Just for a week? Because once you do, something subtle shifts. You stop surviving for applause. You start living for peace. Remember this. Freedom doesn't come when everyone admires you. It comes when you no longer need admiration to feel okay. When you stop chasing the spotlight and start walking inward. That, my friend, is where real life begins. 9. The problem isn't the world, it's youth. This one's not easy to hear, but it's a turning point. If I could write a letter to myself 10 years ago, it would begin. Stop fighting everything. Stop believing the world is out to get you. It's not the traffic, not your boss, not your partner, the noise. It's inside. I used to think life was unfair, that people let me down, that the universe had it all backwards. But slowly, painfully, realized the chaos wasn't out there. It was within me. It wasn't others failing me. It was me every time I ignored what I truly needed, and the hardest truth of all. The world didn't need to change. I did. That letter you could have written. It too, because there comes a moment when you finally wake up and realize you've had the power all along. Remember the moment you stopped blaming the traffic and saw the turbulence was inside you? That's the hinge where survival ends and real living begins. In your part in the chaos you feel. You've spent years treating the world like a malfunctioning machine, cursing every jam and rattle, only to discover the noise was coming from the gears inside your own chest. The instant you shoulder that truth when you realize your fiercest battle isn't with deadlines, relatives, or algorithms, but with the pieces of yourself you haven't yet accepted, that's the instant. Life shifts from an endless firefight to an unfolding adventure. Stoic sage Cleanthes captured it centuries ago. Life leads the willing and drags the unwilling. Update that for today, and it sounds like this: flow with your nature, or get tumbled like laundry on spin cycle. How does that look on an ordinary Tuesday? You bristle when a colleague corrects a detail. In fact, they're right, but your pride hisses. Your partner reacts differently than you'd scripted in your head, though they never signed the script. A friend leaves your message on read, and within minutes, your imagination drafts a rejection saga worthy of Netflix. And you'll see, the disagreement isn't really with them. It's with your own pride, your craving to be right, your longing for the universe to fit you like a custom glove. You're not agitated by events, you're agitated by the story you attach to events. 3 steps to end the invisible war. 1. Strip the labels. On paper, jot 3 moments that upset you this week. A criticism, a silence, a snarky remark. Now cross out the names. Forget who did it. Under each, write the raw emotion it triggered: fear of rejection, loss of control, bruise to self-worth. See what happens? The villain morphs from John or Lucia into your own unhealed bruise, wrestling for attention. 2. Observe without judging. Next time, anger flares or sadness seeps in, pause and ask, which part of me is speaking? Maybe it's the child who felt unseen, the perfectionist terrified of mistakes, or the lonely self convinced everyone will leave. Listen not to scold, but to understand. Awareness ends the habit of hurling your shadows onto the nearest wall. 3. Make peace. Gently. If something in you needs work, fix it yet. Drop the guilt and sky-high bar. Simply state, I can do better, and I will. That humble honesty, not flawless performance, is what crowns you master of your mind. Keep hunting enemies outside, and inner peace will stay barricaded. Call off the inner war, and the world stops feeling like a battlefield. Because here's the quiet secret. Life has never been against you. It's just been waiting for you to stand on your own side. At 10, busy, but empty. Picture a hamster in a gleaming wheel, legs a blur, heart pounding, eyes wide. He runs harder. Faster, convinced speed equals escape. Then he halts panting. Drenched hand notices the view hasn't changed 1 millimeter. He's exactly where he started, only more exhausted, more frustrated, more distant from himself. You've been running, non-stop. Now pause and ask yourself, where have you actually been going? The wheel kept spinning, but the view never changed. Yes, let's step off it just for a moment and step into something more honest. Now, close your eyes for a second and picture this. It's late. The world outside is hushed. You finally get home. Your shoulders are heavy. Your phone is dead. Your mind. Fried, you've answered every email, crossed off your entire to-do list, even picked up the slack for a coworker. You change clothes, quickly turn off the lights, and collapse into bed. But before sleep comes, a quiet voice sneaks in. I did 1,000 things today, but how many of them actually mattered? And then comes a second voice, calmer, but sharper. Is this really living? That's the moment most people ignore. But it's the most important one, because so many people are trapped in that exact scene, and maybe, just maybe, you are too. You've packed your days with meetings, deadlines, and favors. It all looks productive. It feels productive. But deep down, it's not living. It's existing. You've confused a full calendar with a full life. And that, my friend, is a trap. A shiny, exhausting, deceptively well-organized trap. It's not about doing more. It's about doing what matters. It's about feeling alive, not just being useful. Because if your days all look the same, if every morning blurs into every way, night, if there's no room to pause, to reflect, to even feel, then you're not awake. You're asleep inside your own life, Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, once said, happiness doesn't come from doing 1,000 things. It comes from living in line with your values. He wasn't talking about cramming more into your planner. He wasn't praising hustle culture. He was talking about purpose, about choosing the things that matter to you, not the things that impress others. So ask yourself honestly, does what you do each day reflect who you really are? Does it make you feel alive or just validated? Psychologist Laura Chica put it perfectly. When life moves too fast, the important things don't have time to get in. That constant rush. It robs you. It steals your clarity, your meaningful conversations, your quiet thoughts. It disconnects you. Until one day, you realize you can't even remember what made you feel something this week. So here's your next step. Your small personal revolution. Open your mental calendar. Right now. Find one activity, just one that's there out of obligation, fear, or habit. Something that drains you more than it fuels you. Got it? Now cross it out. That's your first tiny revolution, as Laura Chica said. Make space so the important things can get in, because if you don't open the door, no one else will. And while you're at IT, give yourself one empty space in your day, not to catch up on emails, not to do more work while you have a moment, not even to plan the next thing, just space to sit, to breathe, to let your mind wander, to feel. And when you create that space, life sneaks back in. You might pick up that book you'd forgotten. Let's try something new that surprises you. Have a thought that's actually yours, not just a reaction to everything else. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do isn't fitting more in, it's learning to let go. Because in that quiet space, the most important things show up. Ideas, dreams, opportunities you never saw before, because you were running too fast to notice. So remember this, you weren't put on this earth to stay busy. You're here to be present. If your life leaves no space for you, then you're not. Living your just, checking boxes, and you, my friend, deserve so much more than that. 11. Silence wakes you up. Picture a dark theater. Suddenly the lights come on. You're alone, center stage. But instead of peace, voices flood in. We just stepped off the hamster wheel. And suddenly the theater lights snapped on. All that frantic motion faded, and for the first time the stage was yours. But so were the voices. Let's slow that scene down and watch what really happens when the curtain of silence falls. Picture it. The spotlight burns white. You stand. Center stage, but the auditorium erupts, your boss barking demands, your partner calling for attention, friends unloading worries, algorithms hurling endless pings. They swirl around you in a dizzying cyclone until something deep inside you tiny, but resolute raises a hand. Silence crashes down like a velvet curtain. It isn't cozy, it's unnerving. Yet in that instant, something unfamiliar begins too. Breathe. In the roar, you are merely surviving. In the hush, you can finally live. Here's the truth. You don't fear silence itself. You fear the mirror it holds up. Noise is a mask you can blend, scroll, rush. But quiet strips the camouflage and leaves you eye to eye with the one person you've avoided, yourself. That's why so many stay half asleep. They cram every minute with stimulation notification to reel to podcast, because the empty seconds might ask a dangerous question. Is this really what I want? Marcus Aurelius sensed that trap 1,900 years ago. Each dawn he sat in absolute stillness, no lute music, no servant reciting tasks, just emperor and soul breathing in tandem. He understood that clarity germinates in silence, not in speed. Imagine what he'd say watching us jolt awake to an alarm, thumb through messages before our eyes even focus, blast music in the shower, cue a podcast for the commute, binge another. Over lunch then wonder why we feel splintered. He'd likely whisper, "Seek yourself in the silence. If you don't, no one will deliver you to you." Modern thinker Cal Newport, author of Digital Minimalism, echoes that Stoic wisdom. He reminds us that mental clarity doesn't bloom from analyzing more noise. It appears when we remove the noise. On his podcast, he suggests a deceptively simple ritual: daily solitude with zero stimulation. No phone, no screen. Unconquered minutes that belong solely to you. He calls it conscious, empty time, not formal meditation, not bullet journaling, just breathing and letting thoughts drift like autumn leaves across a still pond. Want something practical? 1. Guard a quiet breakfast. Tomorrow, resist autoplay. Taste your food, scan your inner weather report, tired, hopeful, dense. That 5-minute check-in can steer an entire day. 2. Schedule empty minutes like appointments. Write solitude. 5-minute in your planner. When the alarm chimes, honor it as you would any high-stakes meeting. 3. Defend the silence. Treat interruptions like door-to-door salesmen. Polite, no, thank you, then close the mental door. Silence is not a punishment. It's the gift gathering dust in the attic. Yes, the first opening can feel rock quiet, may reveal truths you've tucked away. Stay. Breathe. On the other side, you'll find a revelation. You were never broken only, numbed by noise. So tell me, when was the last time you tasted true silence? And in that spacious moment, did you sense you'd been on autopilot instead of fully alive? Share your story below. Your honesty might be the whisper someone else needs to finally dim the volume and listen inward. Here, in our corner of the internet, we're learning that waking up isn't loud at all. It's the softest sound in the world. Your own heartbeat. I heard it's been 5 years. Half a decade since your friend betrayed your trust, said he needed money urgently. It was an emergency, and you believed him. You helped. Then you found out the truth. He used that money to go on a vacation with his partner. You told yourself it wasn't about the money, and maybe you even believed that. But still, every time his name comes up, or you see someone who looks like him, there's that sting, that tiny, sharp reminder. It still lives in your chest like a thorn under the skin. And here's what's worse. Every time someone new approaches, you, even if they've done nothing wrong, there's already a wall, a defense, a subtle distrust. It's like that old wound has shaped your view of every person that came after. So now, let me ask you gently, but honestly, does it still deserve to hurt this much? Does that pain still deserve more space in your life than your peace? Some pain teaches, It wakes you up, humbles you, but other pain doesn't teach anymore. It just replays, like a movie stuck on loop. You're not learning, you're just punishing yourself over and over again. That's not growth. That's not healing. That's not living. It's imprisonment in a story that ended long ago. What would Seneca do if he were in your place? He certainly wouldn't linger in resentment. He wouldn't chain himself to old betrayals, he once wrote. The first sign of a well-ordered mind is the ability to pause and let go of the past. Seneca would let go not because it didn't matter, but because carrying pain without purpose is just another form of slavery. He would recognize that continuing to suffer over what's already gone is handing your present to someone who no longer deserves it. Modern psychology agrees. Dr. Sylvia Kong calls this emotional attachment to pain. She says, "We often cling to our pain unconsciously as a way to avoid taking the next risk. It becomes a shield. We convince ourselves we're just being cautious, but really, we're afraid of living again, afraid to be hurt, afraid to be vulnerable. So we stare at the scar and call it protection. But let me ask you something. Do you really want to spend the rest of your life protecting yourself from life itself? Here's something powerful you can try. Tell your story like it's the final time. Tell it out loud, in the car, on a walk, in the shower. Say every detail. Let it out. Empty it then. Pause. Take a deep breath and say this with clarity. This story no longer defines me. Now give it closure. Write it down, then burn the paper. Tell it to someone, then delete the message. Let it go in a symbolic way that matters to you. Give it the ending it never got. And if it still hurts afterward, speak to yourself like someone who truly loves you. No, I don't owe it to this pain to keep suffering. No, I don't have to relive it every night. No, this does not define who I am, because you are not your pain. Yes, some wounds leave scars, but you weren't born to live bleeding. You were made to heal. And sometimes healing doesn't start with fixing the damage. It begins when you simply decide not to go back there anymore. When you say, "I refuse to reopen that door again." Are you still here with me? Stay close, because what's coming next? It's like finally taking off a rock from your shoe. That's been digging into your foot for years. You're about to understand why you've been living in survival mode, without even realizing it. Previously, we talked about how healing often begins not by fixing the past, but by choosing to stop returning to it. And now comes a deeper question, one that echoes even louder in silence. Are you living your life, or someone else's? Take a moment, pause, look at your life and ask honestly, did you truly choose your career? Or did your parents talk you into it because it had good prospects? Does that job you defend with so much pride actually fulfill you? Or does it simply give you a label, a status, something that looks good from the outside? Have you ever asked yourself, freely asked, this life you're living is yours, or just the one that was expected of you? It's like walking through a supermarket with someone else's shopping list. You don't know who wrote it or why. They picked what they did. You're just going aisle by aisle, picking up things that don't excite you. It's checking off boxes without ever asking yourself if this is what you really want to eat. And then at the end of the day, you sit down at the table, stare at the plate in front of you, and eat not because you love it, but because it was on the list. Is that really living, or are you just surviving? Politely. Let me tell you a real story. A story of someone who was stuck living a life that wasn't hers, till one courageous moment changed everything. Her name is Carla Antonella Rodriguez, born in Rio Turbio, a small town in Patagonia, Argentina. For years, Carla worked in a coal mine. From the outside, she fit the picture perfectly. A strong, silent man, working in one of the toughest environments imaginable. She was, as society saw it, doing what was expected. But that image wasn't the truth. Inside, Carla wasn't the man people assumed she was. She was a woman with a truth buried under layers of fear, silence, and social pressure. Every time she put on the uniform and descended into the mine, it felt like she left her real self behind on the surface. It wasn't the hard labor that crushed her, it was the weight of pretending, the pressure to belong, the fear of disappointing others, the pain of living a life written by someone else's hand. She wasn't living, she was hiding. The more she tried to fake it, the more invisible she became, even to herself. Then, one day, standing in front of the mirror, Carla did something simple but revolutionary. She said it out loud, "This life isn't mine, and I don't want to keep hiding." That one sentence cracked the shell of her old life. She stepped out of the role. She stepped into the truth. Carla came out as a transgender woman. She became the first openly trans woman officially recognized as working in the coal mining industry in her country. Conservative workplaces, she broke barriers, but she didn't just live her truth. She helped others find theirs. She pushed for inclusivity, helped found a gender department in her company, and used her story to pave the way for others. The most powerful part, her story finally belonged to her. Today, Carla speaks. She inspires. She creates not because her life is perfect now, but because for the first time, it's hers. She didn't choose an easy life. She chose a real one. And in that choice, she found something we all crave: authenticity, dignity, and freedom. Because living a life that doesn't belong to you, even if it looks safe, even if it looks successful, is still a form of sleeping through your own existence. Carla chose to wake up. And now, what about you? If something inside you whispers that you've been playing a role, that your days feel scripted by someone else's dreams, then try this. Go stand alone in front of a mirror. No one else around. No filters, no noise. Just you. Look into your own eyes and ask yourself the one question that might just change everything. Is this the life I truly chose? If your life were a story, would you choose this script? So let's begin from there. Imagine you're holding the script of your life in your hands. Suddenly you notice parts that were never truly yours, and one by one, you start crossing things out. Cross out the degree you pursued out of obligation, not passion. Cross out the image you maintain just to avoid judgment. Cross out the way you speak, not because it's who you are, because you're afraid you won't be taken seriously. And when all of that falls away, something unexpected appears. Not emptiness, but space. A stillness full of possibility. Blank page, not void, but ready for something real, something truly you. Here's something to try. Grab a pen and paper. Write down all your current goals, the things you're working so hard for. And next to each one, write down, who placed this desire in me? Was it you, or was it fear? Your environment? Habit? Because if you don't know why you're chasing something, is it really worth the run? Now imagine your ideal self, the version of you who doesn't shrink, who doesn't hide, who lives boldly. What would they do today? What would they wear? Where would they go to work? Would they drink that morning? Coffee or give it up because they've outgrown it? Would they stay in that relationship or walk away without hesitation? The point isn't to flip your life overnight. It's to start making small, honest decisions, ones that feel like home. Living for yourself isn't selfish. It's a responsibility. Because every time you live to please others, you're dimming your own light. And you weren't born to fulfill other people's expectations. You were born to write your own story. You didn't come here just to punch clocks, silence alarms, and repeat empty days. You came here to feel, to create, to choose with purpose. If this video has shown you one thing, let it be this: real living isn't about doing more, it's about waking up. It's about breaking out of autopilot, facing your life with open eyes, and choosing here and now not to stay asleep any longer. Because every small shift, every moment of silence you sit with, every thought you dare to question, that's how you begin to return to yourself. Made it this far? Let me know in the comments by writing, "Today, I choose to wake up." That's how I'll know who the true Stoic warriors are. Those who stayed until the very end. Don't forget to subscribe to Stoic Havenway. Hit the notification bell and give this video a like if it resonated with you so you won't miss what's coming next. And right here on the screen, you'll see our full playlist packed with insights, stories, and practical wisdom to help you live with more strength and clarity. Click on it, and let's keep walking this path together. Until next time, take care. Never forget, you were meant to live wide awake. From Stoic Havenway, with truth.